Hi, folks. Welcome back to another episode of RunYogi Diaries. This is your host, Santosh Shiva. Every week, I bring you conversations with people who are on a journey of well being and fitness through endurance sports. I hope they spark some possibility in you, leave you with some tips, and perhaps inspire you to perspire. This episode is also available on leading podcast platforms if audio is your thing. Also, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing to it. Hit like if you like this video, and remember to leave your comments. Let us know if you took something away. In the house today is a scientist, a musician, and an ultra runner who recently crossed the finish line of the 250 plus miler Cocodona 250. What's more fascinating about his story is that he went from 0 to 250 miles racing in just less than 5 years. That's incredible. Also says something about where there is motivation, there's always a way. We also double click into the issue of mental health and running in this episode. The need for awareness of mental health and the fact that there need not be shame in seeking help. Let's welcome Kaushik Sunder. Hey Kaushik, welcome to RunYogi Diaries.
Thank you so much, Santosh. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you in the show. You're a young man with some terrific performances in the area of ultras and running in the recent past. So we have a lot to learn and talk about.
I must be the runner with the least number of achievements on your podcast. But I'm happy to be here, discuss running and everything else.
Not at all. There aren't many human beings that have done 250-mile foot races. So that puts you in a unique spot in the world, a world of human beings. So, so not at all, not at all. But we'll talk about all of that. Before we jump in, let's maybe have you do a quick personal introduction, where you live, what you do, and then we'll jump in.
Sure. So I'm Kaushik Sunder. I live in the Bay Area, San Francisco. I'm a scientist by profession and a musician. So I work in everything audio. Basically, I study acoustics, human perception of sounds, and that's what I do for a living. And I'm also an ultra runner, especially in the last few years. I've picked up running and now ultra running. So yeah, I enjoy basically running, music, science. That's my life.
Lovely, lovely. Human perception of sound. Wow, that sounds so good just to hear it.
Yeah, it's a very niche field.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we were here to talk about your running journey and maybe another podcast where we can spend a little time about around sound and human perception of sound, which is a fascinating topic by itself.
Definitely.
So, maybe we should start with some flashback.
Sure.
And what about sports growing up, and how early days were. So maybe get into that.
Yeah. So I mean, as a kid, I was into sports, but it was more in my early years. It was more short distance running, say like 100-meter dashes, 200 meters. I used to love that, and other team sports like Coco and stuff like that. So I used to enjoy Coco a lot. That's a sport I actually miss. I haven't played that sport for a long time now. But then, like, if you're a kid growing up in India, cricket becomes part of your life, whether you like it or not, and that's how it was for me as well. And it was always music versus cricket for me. I was playing cricket for the regionals, and I was getting very serious about taking that up as a career. And then there were some injuries, and then studies came in the way, and but eventually ended up pursuing science, which I don't regret. And I'm a scientist now, so that worked out pretty well. But I think the interest in sports uh, came, when I was very, very young as a kid. And I just loved the idea of, you know sports is an emotion to me. And
Mm.
the idea of, this whole thing bringing everyone together, and it was just absolutely fascinating. And I still follow a lot of different sports, but now I've been into running for a while, and that's something, it's a whole new sport I've taken up off late, and it's been amazing.
Yeah. So, cricket, until what age? You said you played for regionals. Which region did you
Yeah,
play?
I was playing in Karnataka,
Oh, okay.
in Bangalore, and I was playing until I played until under 16. And I
Hmm.
was pretty serious about it. I was a fast bowler,
Wow.
opening bowler, and but I didn't have the height, but I was very fast, and I used to clock 135 at that time.
Wow.
But uh, then injuries came, and that wasn't a lot of fun at that time, because I,
Hmm.
I missed some national tournaments and everything. So but it was a great experience, because that's something I always think about, what I would have been if I was not a scientist, or what in the parallel universe, what I would have been. But I can only think of, as a cricketer, because music is still there with me, and
Yeah.
I still perform and play record music. But yeah, for sure I would have been a cricketer.
So, are there anybody in your regionals who made it to the nationals and
Yeah, I've
international?
I've played with Manish Pandey, and then he was in basically in my region and my school. Not a whole lot, but there were few of them who actually made it to the state team and everything. It's a tough sport to make it to the national team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So how did running get back into your life?
yeah.
And when did it begin?
I mean, it started around 2017, 2018,
Mm, mm,
which is probably like 3 years ago.
mm,
And I primarily took up running for my mental health, and
mm,
that's something I'm super passionate about. I speak about it a lot. I I've been diagnosed with anxiety and depression, and I used to suffer a lot.
mm,
It's an ongoing process, right?
mm,
So, but that's one of the reasons I took up running,
mm.
mainly because it became more of a ritual. It was a
Yeah.
habit, to just go out, just do like 2 mile run, 3 mile run, whatever little I could do.
Mhm,
And it just uh, gave me a new identity as a
mm,
runner, and not just someone who is having some kind of a mental illness.
mm,
It just gave a different perspective, and to my mental health and
mhm.
to life in general.
Yeah.
So I'm in no ways telling that it solved the illness, but it just gives a different perspective, in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
So that's primarily why I started running.
Mhm,
Initially, like everyone, you start with shorter distances like 5K, 10Ks, and you're slowly pushing your limits, like seeing where what you can do. And I thought, maybe, okay, maybe one day I can also do a half marathon. So I signed up with a couple of my friends, and that was the first time I was doing like a kind of a big race
mhm.
with so many people. I ran the San Francisco marathon in 2018, the half marathon. And it was an incredible experience, because you see that you're not the only person who is slow. there are
Mm,
there are thousands of people with you, and you see people struggling, but they're still making to the finish line, and it's a huge party over there, right? So
yeah.
and there was a sense of community in running. That's the first time I saw that, and that was something very infectious. So and I was very attracted to this, the whole concept of celebrating a normal person, running a certain distance. It was just incredible. So I just continued, doing what I can, just doing a couple of half marathons, but and
So,
slowly.
so before you proceed further in your story, I do want to spend a little bit of time on the mental health part of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
So did somebody? How did you know that running would be helpful? Did somebody direct you to that?
Not really. It was pure, it was an accident, right?
Hmm.
So I was having a lot of uh, issues for a really long time,
Hmm.
and I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one in this journey, because there are so many people who it's a taboo. It's still a taboo. It's a word that is frowned upon, not talked properly, especially among, South Asians.
Yeah.
Then, even amongst grown men, it's further.
Hmm.
People don't talk about it openly, and it took a long time. It took almost a decade for me to even start talking about,
Hmm.
my personal
Yeah.
battle, and everything, to not even to the world. It's just to your friends, right?
Hmm.
um and um and I mean, I knew, like, exercises help, and it was
Yeah.
just me trying to find that myself.
Yeah.
And it was a pure accident,
Hmm.
that, uh, it just gave me a new perspective as I go. More than anything, like I said, uh, sometimes rituals or habits help, and this was one of those things. And when you keep doing that ritual again and again, like, make it a habit, it becomes part of your identity. And
Yeah.
now I can finally say I identify myself as a runner,
Yeah.
and that helps me a
Yeah.
lot.
No, that makes sense. And for folks who are listening to this and who may be in a similar situation, and anxiety and depression is not anymore. It's common. It's a lot
Yeah.
of people deal with it. Um, but at the same time, other than the fact that you take medication, there is enough evidence that I think there's enough research and scientific evidence that shows that exercise helps boost certain types of good chemicals in the body, like endorphins and all of that stuff, which is good for mental health, right?
Yeah.
Now, do you feel that, like, when you feel anxious and you go for a run, um, do you feel better after that?
I do feel better, definitely, for sure. But there's one subtle thing I want to really point out here, right? It is not. People often say that, give that as a solution
Hmm.
uh, to whatever you're facing, right?
Yeah.
And that's up to the doctors to decide, or you.
Yeah.
It's always recommended you talk to a therapist first, or a
Hmm.
psychiatrist, and, get whatever is required to do that.
Yeah.
But you also have to do other things,
Yeah.
that would help you get out of the bed and do
Yeah.
certain things. And it could be different for different people. I mean, for me
Yeah.
personally, running has helped. And
Hmm.
I know a lot of my friends, for them, cooking helps.
Hmm.
For them, for some, just going for a bike ride helps. So it's very different. But what, the point I'm trying to make here is that ritual kind of helps, and that identity that you create for yourself. I feel that it gives a new perspective.
Hmm.
And accidentally, I stumbled upon ultra running, and we can talk about this later, but I find a lot of parallels with, mental, just getting a new perspective to
Hmm.
mental health, ultra especially ultra running, because you are going through these
Hmm.
extreme lows and extreme highs during these ultra runs. And you can, in a race like Cocodona 250 that I did, it's like a 250-mile race. You don't think about the finish line
Mhm.
until the last 10
Yeah.
miles. You are constantly thinking only about the next step, that is the next aid
Mhm.
station, the next 10 miles. And it's very similar. I mean, I can draw parallels to the days where I'm struggling to get out of the bed to do
Mhm.
anything for days, right? And then and those days, just getting up, making a coffee is my
Yeah.
step to that next aid station.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of parallels there, and
Mhm.
I find it extremely intriguing, and that's one of the reasons I try to push through in the ultras as well, so I get a different perspective in life and during my low moments in life. And I have discussed this with few other ultra runners, and I see there's
Yeah.
some truth to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is an important topic, and thanks for sharing yourself. For Because if someone out there is dealing with anxiety and
Yeah.
depression, they must reach out. They must get help. I think what you said is bang on. It's not like running is a solution. That's not what
Yeah.
we are recommending here. We are
No,
saying
it's
get medical help. Exercise is useful. It might work for you. It may not work for you. It worked for
yeah.
you in this case. So great message, and thanks for sharing. And May was, I'm personally also a big advocate for mental health. There are people close in my family who've dealt with it or dealing with it, and unless you take it head on, you're not going to get help. And
Yeah,
this, you can get better. You can feel better if you get help, right? Just
absolutely.
like
And
you would do with physical health. Just like
right,
physical
and
health, mental health is equally good,
it's
important.
exactly, it's just that, and it's there's nothing wrong. It's
Yeah.
just being sharing is important, what
Yeah.
whatever you're facing. And it's like you said, it's just like a physical illness. You get a
Yeah.
cold, you go to a doctor. It's the same thing. There's
Absolutely.
nothing crazy about it. And the more
Yeah.
we normalize this topic, we talk
Yeah.
about it, we share, I think the better this world would be. And I'd like to see a day where we just openly talk about it, everyone.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that would be an amazing place. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the brain is the next frontier for human beings, and
Yeah.
we're going to have to deal with it. So now, getting back into your journey itself, I think we were at San Francisco half marathons
Right.
when we
Yeah.
took a detour
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
talking about mental health. So
Right.
then, what happened? So you started half marathons.
Yeah.
This was back in 2018. Then what
Um,
happened?
yeah.
Half
So
marathons happened. Then what happened?
yeah. So I was doing these half marathons, and I started liking it. I started liking
Mm,
uh, this experience of finishing a race,
mm,
and people cheering you on, like people cheering strangers, and that was a beautiful experience. And then like most people who do bunch of half marathons, you start looking at a full marathon, which is
yeah.
just incredibly crazy to think about at that point, because there's nothing in between. You're like just doubling the
Yeah.
distance, from 13 miles to 26 miles, especially races like San Francisco Marathon, where both the half marathon, the full marathon, people are starting at the same, pretty much the same time. And
Mhm.
you see the half marathon finish line, and you just have to cross it
Yeah. Yeah.
and go to the full marathon finish line, continue.
I've done the San Francisco marathon. One of
Right.
my favorite marathons.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
favorite because back when all of us who came into America, maybe whenever, right, one of the things that we always looked forward to was to drive on the Golden
The
Gate
good.
Bridge.
Yeah. So running on Golden Gate
Running
Bridge is an
Golden
excellent
Gate Bridge, it's
experience.
amazing experience. It's one of the aha moments for me in running.
Yeah, yeah,
Loved
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's, yeah, exactly, that was a beautiful experience, running through the fog, through the Golden Gate Bridge. So that was amazing experience. So I did that year. And it was an incredible feeling, just to do that and just to finish it. I just told a couple of my friends, and they came at the finish line. I was just struggling with chafing and everything in just a marathon distance. And but it was just amazing to finish it. It just felt like I could do something. And so that was a beautiful experience. So I did that. And then I did not know what was there. Like I was like, because I knew I could only get so much faster. I mean, it was not that my first the full marathon I did wasn't. I've done only like two full marathons.
Yeah.
It was not a great time. It was like some 4 hour 20 minutes or 4 hour 30 minutes. But I going fast was something that never uh, excited me for some reason. uh, because but somehow going farther was something that intrigued me, because I was like, even if you're super slow, covering a distance more than a marathon is definitely hard. So but at that time I did not know about ultra running and anything. This was basically around, this was 2018, late 2018. And I stumbled upon this amazing documentary on Netflix. I think it was Made to Be Broken or something like that. It was by this ultra runner. His name is Karl Meltzer. And he had run the entire Appalachian Trail, which is like more than 2,500 miles. And he ran that in like 45 days or 46 days, which is just amazing. And I saw that, and it was just inspiring. I mean, it was something I couldn't you know pinpoint, but there was something in that just inspired me to see, okay, I mean, there is, if this guy can do it, maybe anyone else can try, doing this. Turns out this guy is like a legend of ultra running. And what I did is I started looking up for events, and something I just wanted to uh, see what is next. I wanted something to look forward
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
So late 2018, I signed up for the San Francisco Ultra Marathon, which is basically a 52-mile run.
Okay.
Then that was supposed to happen in 2019 summer. So I signed up for this one, which was an amazing, like experience hindsight. Uh, and but I did not know how to train for it, because I just did not know any runners who were doing something like this at that point of time. And I had absolutely no idea how to train for something like this, because even for the marathon, I did not like train pretty hard. I just went, and at that time it was just a bucket list thing that I needed to
Yeah.
run a marathon.
And
Okay, done.
yeah, you were a fast bowler in cricket, so running was already there in some form in your
Exactly. Yeah.
system.
In Yeah, but that was like 100 meters,
Yeah,
200
yeah.
meters, but it
At
was
least the
not.
endurance was there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess there was something there for sure. And then and what I did is I started googling about this Karl Melzer, and I stumbled upon his website, and I just wrote to him and like, hey, I'm a runner. uh well, I mean, when I say I'm a runner, I just have finished one marathon, but I have no idea what to do next. But I know there is this race and I want to do it. Can you guide me how to this thing? And
Mm.
he was really kind enough to say, hey,
Wow.
I'll kind of coach you. And that's when I started reading up more about him, and watching his videos. And he has a very famous quote saying 100 miles is not that far, which I often argue against.
On four wheels.
Yeah, exactly.
On four wheels. Maybe that's what he meant.
That's
But
probably what he meant. But after finishing the 250 miler, he wrote back to me saying, yeah, see, I told you 100 miles is not far. And I had,
but what so amazing that you got to he responded to you and you were kind of beginning to get a
yeah,
elite runner as a
absolutely.
coach. I mean,
Absolutely, and that
that must
was
be amazing.
something amazing. That was, I mean, I'm super grateful, and I'm just lucky, right?
Wow.
And at that time, I had not done any trail running.
Hmm.
And I mean, most of we know that road running and trail running are similar in most ways, but it's also very different, right?
Yeah.
So all the times go off the window, and that was something I had never done.
Hmm.
So and I started to learn that most of these races above a marathon are mostly trail races, right? um, so I did like I did my first trail half marathon in Jan 2019. And then that went pretty well, and I was like, okay, I think I just need to go for it. I just need to jump that distance above 42 kilometers, mentally, just to get that experience, because I knew I was
Hmm.
doing the 50 miler end of July. So I signed up for a 50K the very next month, and without knowing how it would be the experience, but I just went for it. At that time, I was training. Carl was already kind of slowly coaching me, and he would give me plans every 2 weeks, and I'll just blindly follow it.
Hmm.
And it wasn't crazy. It was more like, oh, do 5 miles this day, 6 miles this day, like that. It was nothing crazy.
Well,
Um,
what about things like some of the technicalities like trail shoes and nutrition and stuff like that? Were you getting advice on that front as
not
well?
not much. And I really like that aspect of his particular coaching style. As you go for it, you'll figure it out yourself, right? And I mean, eventually that's what happens. Like, especially a sport like ultra running, you will go there, you will suffer, you will you will go through failures, and you're going to have bad days where nutrition is not going to set. You're going to puke, and you're going to have nausea, all kinds of things. So, but you have to keep doing these trial and errors, and you figure out eventually what is the best way to deal, what is the best nutrition for you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But that's something I had to figure out on my own. So I did that 50K, and then that's when later that month I kind of ended up meeting like a really good group of ultra runners in the Bay Area, which was an eye opener for me, because there was this whole treasure of knowledge there, and I'm super grateful to that group, because they became my partners in crime, because
Mm.
I
Yeah.
was started to constantly train with them every Saturday. We would just go on like 2 a.m. runs, 3 a.m. runs, 4 a.m. runs. It was something to look forward to during for the weekend, even though it's you're doing long distances, and but there's something about this whole community. You when you run with people and you're hearing stories of their races, of all the anecdotes they go through, it's just incredible. And it became a joy for me to just to go. And as I was doing, I started to realize that I'm actually exploring a lot of new places, a lot of new trails that I would have never gone to, even if I had lived in Bay Area for my entire life.
And
And
you mentioned this a couple of times in your conversation. You talked about community a couple of times,
yeah,
and it seems like that's a core part of
yeah,
what also has been important in your journey, and also correlating that to mental health, community and mental
absolutely.
health. Because I guess, and please correct me if I'm wrong, one of the main sources of increasing mental health is also lack of community and being lonely, and so that's another aspect
Yeah,
of it that I thought
absolutely,
would be a goal
absolutely. I
to
mean,
call out.
yeah, absolutely. And special shout out to the ultra running community. It's just an incredible community. Like, everyone is looking after each
Yeah.
other, right? So someone is doing like a crazy race, or last year there were no races, so we had to chalk out our own adventures. But if someone decides to do something, there are at least 10 people who would be there
Mm.
just to support you, nothing else. They're just there to support you, like, cook food for you, like,
Mm.
just spend the day with you there. So it's just a beautiful thing. I can't
Yeah.
explain it in any other way. It's something I've never seen
Yeah.
anywhere. And I think it's the suffering and the joy at the end of it that kind of
Yeah.
unites everyone together in this community.
And I
uh,
think in general, the running community is, you'll never find, at least I've not found cynicism and,
yeah,
whining among running community.
yeah,
Even in the road running community,
yeah,
which
I
is
mean,
competitive, which is a lot more competitive than
right,
the trail running
right,
community. I've
yeah,
not seen that. There's always
yeah,
camaraderie,
yeah,
and
yeah,
the ultra running community is even more, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah. I mean, the thing is, I think running as a sport,
mm,
it humbles you, right? You
mm,
might be a really fast runner on one day. You might have ran 200 miles on one day, but the next day it is going to humble you. Like, you
yeah,
probably can't do a 3 mile run, properly. So I think that's what it is. I think everyone
yeah,
realizes that it's a sport that humbles you, and keeps your ego down and
yeah,
keeps you
yeah,
down to earth, right? So I
yeah.
think that's one main reason why that's the case. Yeah.
All right, let's get back into your journey. We were at
Right.
50 miles.
Yeah.
Uh,
So one thing led to the other. So I started doing. I did couple of 50Ks in the summer of 2019 with some of my friends here, and I started to get a hang of that kind of a distance, at least mentally. I wasn't like, again, I was never a fast runner. I was just getting through the runs, basically trying to figure out my nutrition and everything. And then the day came when I was doing the 52-mile run, right? And the way this run was happening was, um, this was along with the San Francisco full marathon, runners. So you start the run the previous night. You do a marathon, and then you're joining the full marathon people the next morning. So that's how the event was there. And it was a great experience, because again, like, you're basically running with thousands of people, which also you don't find very often in like big ultra runs. It's the number of people running is much smaller. So it was a nice experience where you're running with literally thousands of people. A lot of them were full marathon people, right? So it was a fun experience. I did not have a great race, but I finished it, which was amazing. uh, um, I couldn't walk for the next 1 week, but that's a whole different story. But I mean, it was a good experience finishing that race. I mean, that gave me some hope that I could do something, longer distance, take up some distance longer than that. Um, and that's what I mean. I think it's kind of, the sport is infectious, that you do a 50-mile run, you're kind of looking up, okay, what's the next thing out there, you know
yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah. If you, everybody's doing that, they're looking for what's next there, and
yeah,
they're looking
yeah,
going from 50 to 55 or to maybe 75.
yeah.
But you jump to 250.
Well, yeah, that
What were you
happened.
thinking?
I don't know what I was thinking. A friend of mine, Pradeep, he uh he called me up, and he was like, hey, do you want to sign up for this
Oh, and
250
what were
mile
you
run?
doing when he gave you that call? You were like just sipping some coffee or something, just looking at the skies and say, "Oh man,
the, the
I don't
the
know what
thing
to do."
is the thing was, like, last year there were no races, right? And I needed something really crazy to dream about, and that would keep me training. We were doing a lot of amazing adventures on our own. Like, we did this Bay Area Ridge Trail with a couple of my friends. I did this, where there's this 400 miles of ridge along the Bay Area, basically circumventing the Bay Area, and we did the entire entire Bay Area Ridge Trail in a span of like 8 to 9 months. That was an amazing experience because we went to so many incredible trails that we would never go to. And I think that's kind of the only reason I run. I mean, like, I try to go to these new places. It's just so beautiful that, you, like I said, you would never get there if you're not like a runner or an avid hiker. So there were all these adventures we were doing, but races were nowhere, in the scene for that year, and I just needed something crazy to that would motivate me to just get out of my bed and um, slowly train for something big. And I personally, I enjoy the process of training a lot more than the actual
Yeah,
racing.
makes sense. Yeah,
And it's something truly beautiful. Like every day you kind of figure out small puzzles. You're training day after day, and slowly, and not every run is going to go well. So, but you're figuring out things. It's just a beautiful process.
that's gold. That's gold. What you just said is gold.
Yeah,
I think for whoever is listening to this, what you said, I want to underline that the training for an event like this is far more rewarding.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
because, like, whatever, in terms of what you were saying, but also in terms of the impact it has for your overall health,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
And it
exactly.
changes
And
your life.
it does absolutely. And it's like, I think of it as like a sculpture, right? You're
Mm.
kind of carving, one by one, one by one, one
Yeah,
by
yeah,
one,
yeah,
like, slowly you're doing this. And then the the last bit, racing is just celebrating this
yeah,
whole
yeah, yeah,
process of training and the joy of running, right? So
yeah,
I look at it that way. So
yeah,
and that's why for me personally, I have to train in order to do a race,
yeah,
and as in, it just gives me so much joy just hanging out with my friends and exploring new places. And at the same time, you are also learning
yeah,
something new every day.
yeah, yeah.
And yeah. So yeah, I mean, that was my biggest. I was looking forward to the training more than anything than the race, because race was something I could never fathom. That distance, there was no way I could think about a distance like 250 miles. uh, but I started thinking about, oh, this might mean I would have to train hard, or I might have to do distances like 100 miler if I have to do a 250 mile, because I had not done a 100 miler at that point of time. And I heard this from my friend. I don't know what I was thinking. I just signed up for it. But and then I I gave this idea. I told my coach that, hey, I already signed up for this. And like I said, he's an amazing guy. He's like, oh, even I have signed up for this race. Then and I have not done that distance. So we'll have to figure out how to train for this, right? But one by one, slowly, I wasn't thinking anything about the race. It was just training, taking one day at a time, taking one run at a time.
And how many
S-
months did you have from the time you signed to
well,
the race?
I had pretty much like 9 months to the race. But again, 9 months, it was too early to start training,
Okay.
specific to the race. But the whole idea was I wanted to kind of keep my base fitness. So I was just continuing to run whatever little I can. And then slowly around, I think November, December is where I started getting serious about just training for the specific to the race, right? So that's when we were doing a lot of long runs. Yeah, like January was a big month for me and my couple of my friends. We did like 80,000 feet of vert elevation in that month. So it just kind of constantly uh, pushing each other. So the amazing thing is, if you sign up with someone else who's who's into this as much as you, that helps a lot,
You
because
have a
now
co-sufferer.
exactly. So, and that was amazing, because I was training with a couple of my other friends. Each of them had their own goals, but like you're just there with them, running these long distances with them. So yeah, I mean, it was just a fun process of training, and I think that's the biggest takeaway for me. Like, I enjoyed that process so much, because that you know gave me a perspective again, like something, dream something big, and you kind of break down into smaller pieces, and eventually
Yeah.
it starts becoming something you can actually imagine that you can do.
Yeah.
Right, so
Dream and commit. I think the difference is you committed to it. A lot of people just dream and then it's just sitting on the
uh,
closet. But no, but well said there. And again, gold in what you just said. A lot of times, I think committing to an event, something bigger, something uncomfortable, is a starting process. The training that goes with it is the kind
yeah,
of the journey. But if you don't have that event, the event kind
yeah.
of gives you the context for
Yeah,
that
exactly,
journey, right?
exactly. Yeah, like I said,
So
it is, I mean, to me, it's more of a celebration of the whole
yeah,
training and the whole joy of running, right?
yeah,
And you go to any race, it doesn't matter what distance, and it's there.
yeah.
There are so many runners there, and people are just enjoying the process of finishing, right? So
So you may be one of the few people who probably graduated from a 50 to 50 mile road marathon, road ultra to like a 250 mile trail ultra.
no, you'd be surprised to know that's not actually true. A lot of people who do the 200-mile distances are people who I met a lot of people who had done only a marathon,
Okay.
and still get there. But a lot of people who do that are through hikers.
Hmm.
They hike a lot. They would have hiked like PCT and everything. But
Okay.
I mean, I think if you can sign up for, if you have can muster up the courage to sign up for it and train for it, I think anyone can,
Yeah.
go for it. Really, it's an experience,
Yeah.
that
So let's get into that. So
yeah,
the D-Day,
yeah.
how was the race itself?
The race was incredible, because it was, every day was something different. So going into the race itself, the previous week, I was completely sleep deprived. I hadn't slept well. So going into the race itself, I was pretty tired, and the Saturday, this race was starting from Monday morning, and the Saturday, I was sleeping the entire, in the car, and the entire journey to the race location. So it was, I was already like super fatigued going to the race. So I wasn't sure if that was the best plan. But circumstances were such that I couldn't get a lot of sleep that week. But but then it was time to basically push all that aside and just focus on the on the race as such. uh yeah, I mean, it was the first day was pretty much a reality check to most of us, because again, we are going from the Bay Area to Arizona desert, and we have trained, throughout, and through the winter. Not Didn't expect a lot of heat here. We go there, and then this is a whole different beast, because there's this dry heat, and not a lot of shade, and long distances between different aid stations. So there was like a really tough section on day one itself, that was, that made everyone suffer there, including like the elites, right? People were running out of water, and there was some a lot of interesting anecdotes, like people, some of them I was hearing, people wanted to like cut cactus and drink water, and eat sand. I don't know how they were thinking that, but I don't know, they were just
But does that
crazy
work?
things.
Does
I'm
cactus work?
No, I googled, like, it doesn't work. Like, there's certain cactuses
Could be
There was,
toxic.
yeah, I don't know. I think I'm sure there was like a Man versus Wild episode where Bear Grylls is cutting cactus and having water in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, I mean, they're just people were just going crazy on day one itself. So, and that was a big reality check. And what happened is, I, along with a couple of other runners, we were just pretty slow that day, and we ended up very, very close to the cutoffs. So it was a big reality check because you're going for a 250-mile race. You don't want to go home at mile 30 on day one. So that was a big reality check. So, once I made that cutoff, and that's when it's hit me that, oh, I'm actually in a race.
Hmm.
And, if I don't make it by the cutoffs, I have to go back home.
Hmm.
And it's not just you, because there's this, like I said, I had like a couple of people coming there and supporting me through and through for the entire race. And it was, I mean, there are people who have taken the whole week off and they're there for you. It just uh, yeah, it just doesn't make sense for you to not make the cutoff,
Yeah.
if so there are a lot of, basically, I was telling myself, giving myself a lot of reasons why there is no way I can miss this cutoff, right? So I
Yeah.
have to keep pushing. So, and then the theme of the race was make enough time, buffer at every aid station before the cutoff, so that I can sleep for 20-30 minutes wherever I
Yeah.
can. And so that kind of became like a theme of this whole race. um, so every day we are basically pushing in the night because the temperatures are cooler. And then during the day the heat comes and you're kind of very, very slow, right?
Yeah.
But one of the most fascinating things that it was is the entire thing about sleeplessness and hallucinations and everything. So because you're not getting a whole lot of sleep during this long race, so by the third night, I was feeling extremely sleepy because I wasn't getting a whole lot of sleep. And So different people have different strategies. My strategy, it just didn't work. Clearly I just had a bad strategy, and when it came to sleep, because I mean, I was so close to the cutoffs that I was not getting a whole lot of sleep. um, and trail naps weren't working a lot. So the thing is, yeah, sleeplessness is real, right? So
Mm.
you're actually running and you're sleeping, which is just crazy, right? And I would just stand and I'm like completely in deep sleep, right? So,
Wow.
and you're hallucinating, you're seeing things, you're seeing animals everywhere, you're seeing snakes everywhere. So
Wow.
it's a very it's an incredible experience. And I couldn't have done it if not for my crew and my pacers. And every day was different. Like there were some days where you had to climb over huge boulders of rocks for like 2 miles. And you're climbing these really big mountains. And so it's very hard to put in words. But I mean, what is amazing, what is completely fascinating to me is how after 4-5 days of going through this without any sleep, how can one like the last 10 miles I was able to run like I was running my first couple of miles. um, and I've seen this in while I was pacing a couple of other friends last year at Moab 240, where these guys were running the last 15 miles like they just started running. And that's something, I would say that was my best experience of this the whole 250 miles of running, right? So
Wow.
like how it's just very hard for me to explain. And I've heard this from so many people. I think it's something to do with the of course the finish near, but the whole runner's high thing, that's when it hits you. It's
Yeah,
just
there must be
amazing.
some science to this. I mean, runner's
Yeah,
high, I can understand at
there
after
is,
6 miles,
yeah,
but do not at
there are a
200
lot of
miles.
there are a lot of like there's the central governors theory, and there's just bunch of other theories, where like uh, where they say that having a finish line somehow motivates you to push yourself. I don't know. I cannot explain, and just for that reason, I would do something like that again. That feeling of finishing is just incredible, and it just allows you to dream for bigger things. And I I have gone to Arizona only once, and just to Grand Canyon back, but I would have never explored these places, and if not for a race like this. And it was brutal but beautiful at the same time. So there's something about these long races, and like I said previously, it gives a whole new perspective to life. I mean, I feel that because now I will never take sleep for granted, because I like every 5 minutes of sleep meant so much at that time. And smaller things, just being out there, being uncomfortable, being comfortable with the uncomfortable there, that's just a whole new experience. And breaking down such a huge thing with smaller chunks, and carving it one by one and getting it done, it's just a
Yeah.
beautiful experience.
It's a great
um,
metaphor for life in general.
yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I love about the sport.
Yeah, amazing. That's beautiful. Congratulations again.
Thank you so much,
And
Santosh.
so, where are you headed next with ultras? What next on the
Well,
horizon?
yeah, one of the things I wanted to see with this 250-mile race is, like, I wanted to see if I can train and then get there. And this was something that was kind of the unimaginable before the race. And I wanted to see what the limits are. And I feel I've barely scraped, there. Like, I haven't found anything there. So, uh, I want to go search for the limits further, right? But and I say the limits is not just the distance, more distance, or more. It's something mentally that challenges you. It could be anything. Well, on my race plate, I have a 100-mile race in September. It's called the Bear 100. I'm still mustering up my courage to you know wear a shoe and start running again. Because after the race for a month, for 2 weeks, I didn't feel like human. After 2 weeks, I felt like, okay, I'm back to being a normal human being. It took a couple of more weeks to just start running slowly. But that's one of the goals I have. But hoping to do a big race like Tour de John TDG in some European races sometime next year. But I mean, more than anything, I just want to continue and enjoy this process of running with my friends, and just find the joy in this running. you know
Awesome. Yeah, and I think you're pretty relatively early in your journey, and which
yeah,
is a good thing because you've done some amazing stuff in a short period of time. You've kind of
right,
scaled so quickly. I mean,
right.
typically people would take much longer to scale to the levels you've scaled. So, in a way, it's good because you've started big. Now you can explore different nuances
Yeah, yeah,
of this journey, right?
yeah, yeah,
It doesn't have to be
absolutely,
distance, like you said. It
absolutely,
can something else.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
And I think you also nicely, you have a poetic or an artistic view of running, which
Right.
is also fascinating.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not a mechanical.
yeah, I also started to see how running these long distances was actually helping me creatively in my music, which was something I did not expect, because I do not listen to music while running. Very, very rarely I listen to. After 6 days of running I did during Cocodona, I did not listen to music. Um, and but I'm always humming something. It's running in my head. I'm singing something to
Yeah,
myself, and I'm kind of exploring new tunes. And it was something pretty incredible, and I've recorded some new compositions while I'm running, and I come back home and then I just try to play it or try to sing it. It's amazing how, that was helping me creatively, and that was another reason for me to just, go for runs.
And what kind of music do you compose?
I basically sing. I've learned Indian classical music for a long time, since my childhood, but I I've kind of dabbled with different forms of music like jazz, and I sing
Mm.
opera, and
Wow.
yeah. So there's just a couple of different things. I play the flute and the guitar and here and there, but it yeah, it's just I try everything, whatever I can.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice. Nice. You're one of those super achievers, ultra
it's
running,
it.
music, you're a scientist. Amazing.
I try to do whatever I can.
Yeah,
Thank you, though. Thank you, Santosh.
that's terrific. So, moving on to the next part of
Hmm.
our conversation, which is a fun trivia round, fun Q&A
Uh
round.
huh.
You ready for that?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. First one. What's your favorite cuisine? What kind of food do you enjoy the most?
Oh, Indian. I mean,
And it,
that's my go-to comfort food, but I enjoy Thai and Mexican quite a bit.
okay, in Indian, anything particular?
I have a sweet tooth, so I can eat as much sweets as I want, as I can, right? Like I would I would eat 10 gulab jamuns at a time. So yeah,
That's an ultra runner.
that's an ultra runner. Yeah, it is an eating competition.
Did you have gulab jamuns in the
Oh
Cocodona
yeah,
250? Did you?
oh yeah, oh yeah. Lots and lots.
That's one place you can eat sugar balls without too
With
much of guilt.
no guilt,
No guilt.
absolutely no guilt.
All right. Do you watch movies? Do you like to watch
Yeah,
movies?
I do.
Okay. Share with us a name a movie that changed your perspective fundamentally.
Um, Shawshank Redemption.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a beautiful movie. I've watched it so many times, and the the whole plot of it, where this guy, you know, waits for 20 years and eventually gets out every day, is doing something, plotting it and getting out. It's just, yeah, I think that's philosophically somehow that changed me, and I've watched it so many times.
Amazing. What was your takeaway? What
Yeah, I
about
mean,
it?
the fact that this guy was basically, I mean, it's a movie about prison escape, right? So
Yeah.
this guy is carving a tunnel for 20 years, and he still has hope that he'll get
Hmm.
to the on the other side. It's just a beautiful movie.
Yeah. 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 Lovely movie. I agree. Great choice. All right. I was reading in your website that you're also an adventure sport junkie. So, what's the next on your list as from an adventure sports perspective?
Adventure sports. Oh, I have dabbled with skydiving. So I started my solo skydiving certification last year, but then I had to stop because of COVID. But I've done a couple of solo dives, and something like that excites me quite a bit.
So that's next on your
Mm.
list to
Yeah,
conquer.
hopefully. Yeah, I wouldn't say conquered, but just experience it.
Yeah. A place to visit after the pandemic is over.
Oh, uh, I think that would be um, like EBC or something like that. Himalayas.
That's on your list. Do the would you actually go to the summit itself, or
No, no. I mean, uh, just go look at the mountains and come back.
but with you I don't know. I'm not too sure.
I don't know. Maybe someday, but yeah, not today.
Okay. All right. Last one, um, which is something I ask all my guests, but I've kind of tweaked it a little bit for you because
Uh
you're a
huh.
musician. Because you're a musician. So, if a song were composed of your life,
Mm.
what genre of music would you put it in? And who would you want it to sung by, except you, other than you?
Oh, okay. Oof. Um, there's this musician called Bobby McFerrin. He's a jazz vocalist. It would be jazz for sure. And this guy does everything with his voices. And he's kind of my music idol. So yeah, it has to be him.
Yeah. Paul McFerrin. That's amazing. That's a good choice. Is what's that song he's?
Yeah, the popular one is there's a song called "Don't Worry, Be Happy." It's a very
Exactly.
popular
Yeah.
song by
That's
Bobby
what I thought.
McFerrin, but he does a lot of a cappellas and just vocal harmonies and everything. So yeah, he's one of my favorite when it comes to jazz. If it's something Indian, that would be Hariharan without a doubt for me.
Okay. Nice.
Yep.
Amazing. Hey, that was you did well in the
Oh,
fun
thank you.
Q&A.
Thank you so much.
Got to learn a few more things about you in the
Yeah.
process. So we're kind of coming up to a wrap up here, but I want to give you the last word. Any message you want to give our viewers that we may have missed
Right.
out?
I guess I have a couple of things. One related to mental health. I would say, vulnerability is not weakness. It's actually a strength. Sharing that you are going through a tough time is not a weakness. It's a strength. That only says that you're stronger. And just go and enjoy everything out there.
Yeah, beautiful message. And thanks so much.
Thank you
Kaushik,
so much, Santosh, for having me.
Thank you so much for sharing your journey. I'll let you go enjoy the rest of the day and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you. Absolutely. Have a great day.